Okay, here we go with algebra. Note 16, rewriting equations and formulas. We're mainly doing equations this time. Your essential question is, how do you rewrite an equation in a function form? And to do this, you'll have to say, to rewrite an equation in function form is writing it, moving the variables to the right side and all constants to the right side by doing the inverse properties to get y all by itself. Okay. Alright, so first vocabulary is a function form is an equation in x and y, so you have both those variables in your equation and you write it so that you the depend variable is the y and is isolated on one side of the equation, which is usually the right side. So usually it's a y equals, and then you have something with an x plus something for a number, and those are the mystery that you got to figure out what they actually are. The literal equations is where it has is an equation that has two or more variables, which these are literal equations because it has a x and a y variable. But with a literal one, you can have any letter in there. You can have a's, b's, x's, z's, any kind of a letter. But the function form will have a y and an x, where the y is the dependent variable. X is the independent. Okay, so for our examples 1 through 4 here, we're going to practice rewriting an equation in the function form, which this is kind of difficult, but you got to pay close attention. Basically on all of these, I want the y to be by itself, so I want a y equals and then something x plus something number. Okay, and that's what we got to find out what the somethings are. If I look at my first problem, I'm going to first look at what is actually the variable on the first example. I have 2x on the left side. I need to move it to the right side, and I want to do the inverse operation. The 2x is a positive 2x, so to move it to the other side, I'm going to do a subtract of a 2x. I'm going to bring the 2y down so that I still have it on the left side. And then I want to rewrite this so that I make sure I have the x first, because remember I want the blank and an x plus some other number. So I'm going to slide the 2x in front and the 10 behind. And that 10 is a positive, so I'm going to put a plus 10. And then the next step is to get rid of just the 2. Okay, my highlighter was smearing. I want to get just rid of the 2. This is a multiplication, so the opposite is to divide by 2. So I want to divide each item on the left side by 2. That gives me y equals, and now negative 2 divided by 2 is a negative 1x plus 10 divided by 2, which is 5. There is my answer. This is an equation written in function form. Okay, if I go just to the left, I'm sorry, to the right, I notice I have 16x. I need to move the 16x to the other side. So that means I'm going to subtract 16x. Okay, I'm going to bring down the negative 4y. And then I'm going to slide the negative 16x in the front position and the 28 behind. My next step is to move the negative 4. This is a multiplication, so I have to divide by negative 4. So make sure you divide the right side by negative 4 each item. So I'll have y equals. Now, negative 16 divided by negative 4, the negatives cancel out, and 16 divided by 4 is just 4. 28 divided by negative 4 is a negative, and 28 divided by 4 is 7. There's your answer. Alright, on the third example, it has a 5 out front, and then it has all these parentheses. So I first have to get rid of these parentheses, and to do so, I'm going to multiply the 5 into the parentheses doing the distributive property. Okay, so 5 times 2y is now 10y. Then 5 times a negative 2x is a negative 10x. And then 5 times a negative 4 is a negative 20, and it equals 0. Okay, looking for the x, I got to move that negative 10x to the other side. This is a negative 10, so to move it, I'm going to make it a positive 10. Move it all the way across. And I need to bring down the 10y. And I also need to bring down the negative 20. On the right hand side, 0 plus this 10x is just going to be 10x. And make sure you put your equal sign. Next, I still don't have the y by itself. I have this subtract 20 on the left hand side, so I need to move it now over to the right. This has a subtract 20, so to move it, I'm going to change it to a addition of 20. The 10y drops down again, and it equals, make sure you put the x first, this will be 10x plus 20. Now last step is to get rid of the 10 that's with the y, which means I'm going to divide. So divide each item by 10. That gives you y equals 10 divided by 10 is 1x, and 20 divided by 10 is 2. Alright, on the last example, this one's really scary looking. It's got fractions everywhere. But I can get rid of the fractions by multiplying by a common denominator. And if I look at my denominators, I notice that I have 2 3's and also have a 9. But 9 is a common denominator of all of these. So I'm going to multiply the entire equation through by 9. Now, I'm going to grab my calculator for this so I can actually see what's taking place. So here, I'm going to do 9 parentheses 2 divided by 3 in this fashion, and I want it to be a fraction, so I'm going to hit my frac button and enter, and my answer is a 6. So that's 6x when I multiply here. I'm going to do the next one. 9 parentheses, and now I'm going to put the negative with my fraction, so I'm going to put negative 2 divided by 9. I'm going to make sure I have it in a nice form, so I have my fraction, and enter, and that gives me negative 2 equals, and now I need to do 9 times a negative 1/3. So 9 parentheses negative 1 divided by 3, close my parentheses. Make sure you math and frac it so I get a nice number. It gives me negative 3. Okay, this is a lot nicer looking than that mess up there. Here we go. I'm going to get rid of my 6x by moving it to the other side. This is a positive 6, so the inverse is making it a subtract or a negative 6. Make sure you move it all the way to the other side of the equals. Bring down your negative 2y equals, and then remember, make sure you write your x first, and then the constant goes second. Make sure you watch your signs, they both come down with them. Your next step is to get rid of this negative 2, when you separate it from a variable, you have to divide. Make sure you divide by negative. Divide each item by -2. That gives you y equals. Now, -6 divided by -2, if you don't know it, make sure you type it in. Well, you get your signs correctly. Is going to be 3x. And then this one, negative divided by negative, I can do the decimal or I can do the fraction. -3 divided by -2 gives me 1.5, or I can leave it as a fraction as 3/2. But the sign is important. You can either have 1.5 here, or you could have y equals 3x plus 3/2. Either answer will be acceptable on this problem. Okay. In the blank down here at the bottom, make sure you write your summary, that is answering your question on rewriting equation in function form by first moving the variable and the constants over to the right hand side by doing the inverse operations. Make sure you write in a complete sentence.